Hello and welcome back to Thursday Night Football. We have the 49ers at the Seahawks. Game is in Seattle. It's going to be an interesting one, as these divisional games always are, and the ones in Seattle tend to stay a little bit closer. So we're going to dive into that game, but before we do, come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to all we do, all the props, all the DFS. You get it all. One low price for all the tools, all the sports we cover. So come join us. Also, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Helps us a ton. Just feed that algo. Now let's get into it. Let's try to crush this slate. So we do have a 49-point game total. We are expecting some scoring in this match. Seattle is 3.5-point dogs at home. Now, one of the things that I think is a little interesting is Geno Smith is 0 for 4 versus San Francisco, whereas Brock Purdy is 4-0. But there is a little but here. Purdy has shredded Seattle in San Francisco, but in Seattle, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns still, and 209 yards with 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Whereas when it's been in San Francisco, 332 and 3 touchdowns, 368 and 2 touchdowns. So this game definitely sets up a little bit better for Geno Smith than it does for Purdy, but both these quarterbacks are firmly in play, similar price, similar projections from both a consensus and our projection standpoint. Then the ownership's the same. So I think you're using both guys based on the lineups you're trying to create and the guys that you want. Either guy and both guys are absolutely in play here. And then if we go to the matchup tool, we have Seattle 25th versus quarterback, San Francisco 24th. So once again, here we are firmly in play whoever you want quarterback status. Just mold your lineups around how you think this game is going to go and make lineups with that story. Now, get into running back. So the clear number ones are Kenneth Walker and Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason, he's been a beast. He's in a good spot versus Seattle, who's been giving up 122 rushing yards per game over the last 4 and 1 touchdown a game. If you take that over the last 5, which is a whole season, 110 rushing yards per game and 0.8 touchdowns. So Mason is in a good spot. I like going to him. He has been a beast on the ground. The only thing with him is he's probably not going to give you much through the air. He is pretty much a yardage and a touchdown back. Now, Kenneth Walker has always kind of been a yardage and touchdown back as well. However, interesting thing has happened with this new offense in my eyes. 3 targets week 1, which, whatever. But week 4, 5 targets. Week 5, 8 targets. They're trying to get him the ball in space. So I think it is interesting that he's been being used a little bit more in the passing game. Another thing is at home for his career, he averages 20.5 receiving yards per game. Now he's in a new offense that looks like it is trying to get him the ball a little bit more in different ways. He only had 5 rushing attempts, but 8 targets is big, and I would expect they, try to continue to get him the ball on the ground. The coach said already, he said it, that 5 carries is just a disservice, and they have to get him the ball more than they did last week. So I like Kenneth Walker quite a bit this week. I think his ceiling is giant if they're really going to get him involved in the passing game a little bit more. And I actually do like him a little bit more than Jordan Mason in this spot, especially with him being less owned. Now we get into RB2 categories, and Zach Charbonnet is there. He has to be in this conversation a little bit. 5 touches last week, 7 touches, week 4 versus Detroit, and then week 1 when he was still the RB2 there, 10 touches and a touchdown. So he's going to get 5 to 10 or 12 touches, and because of that, and with ownership, involved in this, you got to kind of consider it Charbonnet, but he is absolutely well behind Mason and Kenneth Walker as far as usage. Now, Charbonnet is only 3,400. He is absolutely getting some ownership, but I do think we should consider him. Next, Isaac Guarendo. He is a guy that I was actually pretty high on in preseason. I was thinking he was going to have the the third RB spot behind Eli, which ended up being Jordan Mason, and then Eli got hurt, so Jordan Mason was the 2. And Guarendo is the number 3, but now he is the number 2. So I think it's interesting. 5 carries last week. Week before, he only got 1 carry. Week before that, 5 carries. I think they are trying to get him the ball a little bit. He is nothing more than a, change of space. He's going, or change of pace back, going to get a couple options, but he's got to be pretty low on your list to use him. You're really needing him to either break a big play or get an odd red zone look because, Mason just carried him down the field or something like that. Now, Kyle Juszczyk, for these showdowns, he is absolutely in play. He gets a mix of targets and rushes sometimes. Hasn't had any rush attempts so far this year, but he can get a couple targets here and there, and they can use him around the red zone. So he is interesting. He is in consideration, but once again, he is nothing more than a punt play. Now, Jordan Mason clearly has the better matchup, but Kenneth Walker matchup is fine. Seattle's offensive line is very good. Also, I talked about Kenneth Walker's receiving. It's a plus matchup for his receiving here. So definitely interested there. Now, let's get over to wide receiver. So we have Tyler Lockett as the highest owned wide receiver. 5,400 is too cheap. He has just been extremely consistent this year. Low double digits, week in, week out, except for number 2. He's getting 6 to 9 targets a game, and I would expect that to continue Thursday. He is in the best matchup of all of the Seattle receivers. Now, this Seattle passing game, the new Seattle passing game, is interesting. The wide receivers are running a bunch of different routes, and I think Lockett, while as consistent, will not have the upside that JSN or DK Metcalf have. So for me, I don't really want Lockett in an MVP spot, but he's firmly, able to be in some lineups just because there is a chance that you just need a guy to give you 15 or 18 or something, and Lockett absolutely can do that. We know from the past Lockett does have a ceiling, but I'm thinking that in this new offense, I don't know if he has quite the ceiling he used to. So I'm interested in Lockett. I like him, but not going overboard. Then we got Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, only 34% owned, is crazy to me. Look at what he's done against Seattle. He is averaging 30.3 fantasy points per game on DraftKings versus Seattle. He has just crushed them. Now, he hasn't done quite as well in Seattle, but the ceiling is still there. He's been dominating, and I absolutely love Deebo this week and in this game. Brandon Ayuk finally came alive last week. He got 12 targets. I'm absolutely interested in him. One of those two are going to have enough to get it done, and both are firmly in play for MVP. DK Metcalf. This guy has been a beast in this new offense, and I do really like him, but I don't know if this is really the matchup for him. I'm going to have a little bit, but I might prioritize JSN a little bit more than him. JSN is going a little under-owned, I believe. Well, both of them are going under-owned, but JSN going even less owned. And I think in this matchup, with how the 49ers play defense and the role that JSN has, I think there could be a ton of targets for him. And with that, I'm fairly interested in him. And then after that, we have, the wide receiver 3, 5, and all that, which pretty much all of them are punts. Juwan Jennings, he had his big game, but now he's back to a little more of a punt role. He did have 6 targets versus New England, but then down to 4 versus Arizona. He's going to have some targets, so you can absolutely use him, but 4K may be a little expensive for him in my mind for the work that we think that he might get. Can he still get it done? Absolutely, but he's a little pricey. Now, if we look at the wide receiver matchup tool, it's a very tough matchup for DK Metcalf. As I talked about, Ayuk, around average, but a great matchup for Debo, a great matchup for Tyler Lockett. And then you go to the wide receiver 3, and it's an average matchup for Juwan Jennings and a below average for JSN. JSN and Tyler Lockett can be interchangeable as far as how they're used a little bit, and that is why part of the reason I like JSN over DK Metcalf this week, because JSN will, go into the slot and play some different roles used all over the field. Getting over to tight end. Tight end, it is clearly George Kittle as the best option. But Fant is getting some love. 3 targets, 2, 6, 3, 4. He is regularly getting targeted. He is a guy that on paper looks like a very good tight end, but we've just never really seen that upside. Can he get in the end zone? Absolutely. It is an okay matchup for him. The 49ers have been tough versus the wide receiver, but I think they can get got. But I don't mind it. But George Kittle, clearly the best tight end in this spot. Pharaoh Brown, been used very, very sparingly, 1 to 2, targets per game, kind of max for him. Comes down to at 1,800, can he get in the end zone or not? And then the other guys are, totally just can they get a touchdown or not? And matchup tool-wise, George Kittle in a premier matchup, 30th, using our team defense tool, which is similar to DVOA. He is in the best matchup in football, pretty much. Seattle has been bad to tight ends over and over and over again. Fant, 9th versus tight ends for San Francisco. Not the best matchup there, but I'll still roll with a little bit of Fant there. Then you get into defense and kickers. I think the way that 49ers have been playing, I think you absolutely have to consider the Seahawks defense at home. 49ers D can get after the quarterback a little bit, but it is a very good offensive line that they're going up against. I think getting those sack numbers up this week might be hard. It really comes down to which of these two defenses can create some turnovers. From what we've seen when the two are playing each other, most of the time it's a lower scoring affair, or one of the teams doesn't get over, 18 or 20 points or so. With that being said, a defense is firmly in play. I wouldn't go both defenses. I think a very defensive battle is unlikely in this game, but one of two defenses will be in a lot of my lineups. And then you get to the kicker spot. Both kickers are firmly in play. Moody does look like he is going to be out for Thursday. I think last I saw he was doubtful. So 49ers probably bringing up a different kicker to start. It is a backup, a little harder to trust, but the 49ers offense is good enough where kickers absolutely are in consideration, even if it's a backup kicker. And then Myers absolutely in play. I mean, the normal goes with kicker. I just don't like playing them when they get to 30-ish% owned or something. I think that gets a little bit wild. Now, on to FanDuel. Let's just check to see if any scoring is totally off. Purdy being 1,500 less than Geno is a little bit crazy, but it's fine. I like both in this spot. Might side with Geno a little bit on that front there. Running back, 1,400 or 14,000 for Kenneth, 15,500 for Jordan Mason. I'm a big fan of Kenneth Walker with that price difference, but both are firmly in play. And then you get over to wide receiver, and the thing that jumps out to me, 12.5 for Debo, and he is the fourth highest owned wide receiver. That is wild. He would be my highest owned wide receiver on FanDuel without a doubt. With Debo being second, I think that's wrong as well. And then obviously, George Kittle is the man. So that will do it for us today, guys. Good luck. I hope you guys have a great night. And go Padres. I'll see you guys later. Peace.